Welcome to the presentation today, Transforming Human Resources in Education with Adobe Sign and Workday. It's now my pleasure to introduce your first presenter for today. That is Sarah Linderman, Product Marketing Manager with Adobe Document Cloud. Sarah, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much, Phil. And thanks to everyone who is joining us this morning or this afternoon, whatever your time zone might be. Really excited to have you on the line. I think for us, we're particularly excited about this session because we know that within a school or university's back office or operational workflows, things like procurement, finance, especially HR, that is accounting for a significant chunk of the paperwork that's going through a school. These are often the use cases that we see our Adobe Sign education clients tackling first with the Sign product. So today, what we're going to be talking about specifically is how Sign can help manage these HR-related workflows through the direct integration that we have with the Workday Business Process Framework. This means that your staff can manage the hiring, the onboarding, the training, all of those documents seamlessly from within the Workday app. To get us set up, first, just a note that this session is part of a series. You can always find the sessions that we've done in the past on demand. A couple of those include going paperless with Adobe Sign, which is just a great starting point if you want to get a broad overview of the product. We also just last week hosted a session with the University of Arizona where we kind of dug into the way that they're implementing and using Adobe Sign on their campus. Coming up in September, we have a session focused on Adobe Sign plus Microsoft Teams integration. In October, we're going to be running another one of those Voice of the Customer series with Portland State. And then looking toward later that month, we have Getting Started with Adobe Sign, which is really focused on the implementation and training process. But as far as what today is going to look like, obviously, again, this is about our integration with Workday. I'm going to speak first just a little bit about some of the HR workflow challenges that we often hear about. And then I'm going to pass it directly over to my colleague, Jenny. She's going to talk to you about the Adobe Workday solution and the benefits of working within that environment. She will do a demo so that you can see exactly how it works. And then I'm going to close out with some next steps, and we'll finally move into Q&A so that we can address any questions that are on your mind in general or as we go through this material today. All right, just quickly before we dive in, I'm going to pop a quick polling question up in the screen here. Just curious, for everyone who's attending, what do you hope to get out of today's session? Hopefully that'll align with what we're planning on presenting. Feel free just to type in your answers there. Viable option, okay, great. Anything else? Well, feel free to drop your responses into the chat pod as we go. Want to make sure that this is relevant, but I think, yes, we will be addressing all of these that are working here. As far as troubleshooting issues, if we're not able to address this because this is kind of an overview session, be sure to provide your contact information and we'll be happy to reach out to you directly to help with any challenges you might have there. Okay, great. Let us get started by taking a look at some of the key HR objectives, just kind of grounding in what matters to schools and universities as far as HR is concerned. Of course, recruiting great talent, your faculty, your staff, your admin across the board so that you can provide great leadership of and engagement with your students, right? Two other big objectives that we hear that I think are somewhat connected to that or underlying it, better visibility into data. So tracking performance, improving employee productivity also goes hand in hand with that. And from our perspective, connected to all of these objectives is the school's ability to offer up a really modern, seamless, efficient operating environment that helps you minimize the admin burden that you have in your school so that you can create this really great working environment for your faculty and staff. If you can do that, that'll obviously attract more great talent for you. Unfortunately, there's some challenges and it's not such a simple task to reach those objectives. Most schools we're seeing are still very reliant on paper, and paper is not good for productivity, and it's also not great for improving the data visibility. We see there's a lot of siloed teams. They're using a lot of different systems. The documents and the workflows that you're working with are all managed manually, again, because they're paper-based, right? And that's spreading across different departments and schools and campuses. So it just creates this really discombobulated feel. It's complicated. It's complicated processes. Sometimes it's unclear what your end users, like parents or students, need to do. And then there's a lot of complex compliance and risk rules and regulations that get thrown in there, especially when you think about schools which are handling all this student data. A little bit more specifically drilling on that and really just putting some numbers behind these challenges that I've spoken about. 80% of leadership in schools talks about the frustration of dealing with digital silos. Over half of the individuals that we speak with talk about this like last mile disconnect. So really that's just a problem of viewing and reviewing and tracking down things. So documents get sent out for signature or for fill, and then where do they go? How do you keep track of them? How can you easily find that data? And then finally, there's a lot of compliance requirements that it's very challenging. Documents that get lost or missed files, that poses a compliance risk to your school and also negatively impacts employee productivity. And again, I think this becomes more challenging when you think about this past year and even looking forward to this year where schools are dealing with remote or hybrid operations where you have all these documents just kind of being routed and filing in weird and different ways. Fortunately, there are solutions obviously that can help, and we believe that Adobe Sign's integration with Workday and the strategic relationship we built is one of those solutions that can really provide a lot of support to your school. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Jenny, who's going to take you through what the integration looks like and how it works.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. So hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Let's talk about the Adobe Sign and Workday partnership. So as you can see here, Adobe and Workday, we've been strategic partners for over 6 years now. And we work across all of what Workday has as their 430 plus business processes, which means not just recruiting, onboarding, but obviously education, right? Inventory management, expenses, procurement, and other modules. So our solution's really built and maintained by Workday. And the benefit here is that users are always up and current with their existing version of Workday that they're on. And we also have multiple unique features that are only unique to Adobe Sign and Workday, which is what we call distribute documents, sending one to many in the Workday task. And I can show you a little bit of that in a minute. We're also the only e-signature vendor that is part of the cloud-based digital signature consortium, which is really a true technical specification and a growing ecosystem of regional and industry accredited signature and digital IT providers. So, we're associated with all the reputable standards of the organization. We're also number one in our ISV partner with Workday. And fun fact, just for folks who don't know, Workday actually standardizes Adobe Sign across their sales, their HR, and their legal teams. And Adobe also uses Workday internally. We also have a growing number of joint customers, over 450, with over 300 of them being live in deployment. And lastly, more fun facts around Adobe Sign in general. Over 50% of Fortune 500 companies use Adobe Sign and Workday for their organization. We also have around 8 billion plus signature transactions that we've done per year. And because we love security and compliance so much, it's part of our DNA. It's a big part of who we are, right? And lastly, we've been in business for over 39 years. And that's, I think, pretty remarkable because that's not a lot of companies, what a lot of companies out there could say. They've been in business for that long and still doing exceptionally well. All right, so why Adobe Sign for Workday? These are just some of the top reasons I can go into when you think about how you can apply it for education, right? Obviously, it's mobile enabled, mobile ready, right? So you can really send signed documents PDFs, Acrobat, anywhere on any device. You can initiate documents to recipients, complete the signing process on your tablet, smartphone, and you don't really have to download any software to do that. I mentioned PDFs, so you can leverage and edit documents, NDAs, onboarding documents, fillable form fields to finish signing workflows faster. I talked about security, privacy, compliance, and just so everyone knows that these signatures are fully secure and compliant with US and global e-signature laws, and that includes compliance such as GDPR, HIPAA, FedRAMP tailored. And we also have transparent pricing. So, you get this enterprise class contracts with transparent upfront pricing, right? No add-ons or charges or support for other integrations, training and onboarding. And lastly, deployment management. So like I said, because it's built and maintained by Workday, you just really plug and play, right? You can manage the users in your Adobe admin console. You can easily configure options and preferences in the Adobe Sign modules. And it's just super simple, super easy. That's what we've been hearing from our customers. All right, so let's take a quick look at how Adobe Sign and Workday really work together. So you can see here that Adobe Sign, the integration like I talked about, is built on top of Workday's business process framework. And that is available beyond just recruiting and HR, but extends to other processes such as financials, procurement, payroll, across more than 400 different plus processes, including their financial and HCM modules. And so this means that any business processes within Workday can be configured to add e-sign with Adobe Sign. So if you're thinking about your employees, your org data within Workday, everything can be merged with the template form, right? The form fields and the documents that are made available for signature within Adobe Sign. And employees can sign, students can sign on any device anywhere. Once that's complete, all of your documents and form fields, the final signed and secure document is then automatically saved back into Workday in the records with any pertinent data. And so with Adobe's e-signature services being pre-integrated into Workday, users, again, like I said, they'll have always the latest releases with their signed license key, making the functions 100% digital and mobile. All right, so now you may have already been familiar with many of these use cases already as it relates to Workday and Sign, but love to reiterate just some of them again, right? So within Workday, Adobe Sign, as you can see, they can be utilized across the entire employee lifecycle. And think of how you can apply this from the education lens, right? Because all of these use cases are very, very applicable, right? So when we think about common use cases like recruiting, you consist of new hire forms, offer letters, that you're recruiting new professors or teachers, onboarding, which include direct deposit forms, benefits enrollment, or onboarding other documents as well, development of employees once they're onboarded, which could be anything from leave of absence, time off request, things like that, compliance trainings, employee handbooks that come out quarterly that needs to be reviewed and signed. And finally, transition, right? There's exit forms, internal letters that needs to be signed. These are all use cases that Adobe Sign within Workday is solving to streamline the workflows and help organizations and education institutions move faster. All right, so I talked about additional use cases beyond what we've just seen as the very typical ones. And, this obviously includes education, student-facing ones that are, education related. So you can see that some of these typical use cases within educations are really focused around, college applications, loan repayments, scholarships, school aid payments, and refunds. So all of these use cases in HR, like I said, are very applicable across the use cases in education as well. All right, so let's take a look quickly at our joint features and key differentiators. So Adobe and Workday, we really teamed up to provide a joint solutions that provide several key customer benefits. And one thing to call out here is the exclusive, I think I mentioned this earlier, distribute documents feature that is unique to Adobe Sign for Workday. And it really allows a user to send a document for mass signature at one given time. In addition to distribute documents, many documents also require a tangible signature on the document itself. So, they would have requirements for wet signatures on paper-based documents today. So this integration really allows for signatures to be directly embedded in the document, allowing for the documents to be portable. We also have legally compliant e-signatures that reduce errors with the complete digital record of the signed transactions right within Workday. And users can easily keep track of documents when they are signed, who signed them, what time did they sign, and timestamp and audit trail. Signed documents are then automatically, like I said, stored back into the Workday. So they're easily searched for, accessed, managed, they're right there. And then finally, the signed document is also encrypted with a tamper-evident digital seal, providing that additional confidence for all parties. And I know that there's a lot of sensitive information too when we're talking about documents and education and loan repayments and all of that. So I talked about distribute documents earlier, and that's really sending one document, to many, right? And that could be really helpful, for sending mass document for signatures. I mean, to a bunch of students for, signing off disclosures or anything like that. So when you need to get the same agreement or whatever document you want to sign by multiple people, and you want an individual copy for each signer, let's say, you can do it really quickly in a few fast steps with Adobe Sign built into that Workday Distribute Documents features. So users can kick off a new distribute document task in Workday. They can send out the documents to multiple people, an entire organization or institution, or even a whole company in one quick step. And our sign solution is currently the only e-signature vendor within Workday that's available and pre-built into that Workday distribute document task. And users can still do the same, right? They can easily track, manage the status of their documents that's been mass distributed right within Workday. The signed documents still get stored directly within Workday, and the signatures are still tangible e-signatures embedded into each document. All right, so let's just take a quick look at what the traditional archaic offer letter processes without Adobe Sign for Workday look like. And this can be anything, right? This can be documents, for the institutions, for the students, but we're looking at this from like a hiring manager standpoint, right? They have to, if you think about all the steps, like there seems to be like 14 plus steps, right? So you have to first generate the document, you have to print it, you have to sign it, you scan it, then you got to email it, print, sign, scan again, email, and then upload and then store it back once it's signed, right? And then when you take a look at what an offer process looks like with the Adobe Sign for Workday, you're really compacting those steps into 4 really basic ones. So you can create and generate the document in Workday, you can sign it, you can send it, and you can store it back in your repository. So it makes things super simple, super quick, and super easy. All right, so let me get into a quick demo for you all today. I'm going to share my screen and get right into it. Hopefully I don't have any issues. All right, let me go full screen here. All right, so again, this is a recruiting product demonstration, but think of this demonstration as in terms of how you can use the Sign product within Workday. That's very applicable for, e-signing any type of documents, whether it's recruiting, onboarding, transition documents or exit forms or anything like that. So here in this scenario, we have 3 roles in this demo. We have Stephanie Asher, who is the VP of Finance and is the hiring manager. And a business analyst in the HR team. We also have Camila Santos, who's an HR generalist in Stephanie's internal. Who's also Stephanie's internal recruiter, and then we have Aya Tan, who is a candidate who is interested in the business analyst role that is open right now. So Aya is ready to apply to the product strategy role at Global Modern Services, the company. And she's logged into the Global Modern Services recruitment site. We Recruit, powered by Workday. She clicks the job that she's interested in, and she completes the application process, and she's really excited for the next steps in her career. Right. And then she's logged into the Global Modern Services, and she then clicks on apply, and she clicks on next. She fills out her information. And then it says, congratulations, you're done, right? All she has to do is fill out all her information on the HR site. Then we have the HR rep, Camila Santos, who's reviewed a few candidates already in the applications and the interview summaries, and she's now prepared to make an offer. So she has moved the candidate forward in Workday and is ready to send the offer letter, right? So she generates the document here. She's got the text tags in here that are already populated with the salary amount, with the role, the company name. All those is pre-filled already, so there's no duplicating. Like, you can just dynamically fill out these forms as you see fit for each candidate. And then you click submit. And then it shows up into Stephanie Astor's inbox. And then once, let's see from Stephanie Astor's side, her experience from the hiring manager and Stephanie Astor's view. So she goes into her inbox and she gets a notification that there's a message in her Workday inbox, and she's excited now to sign the offer letter and move forward with, hiring Aya. And she can sign this form again from anywhere on any device within Workday. And once she signed the document, it automatically routes back to Aya for the candidate to sign. So she clicks there, submit. And then Aya, who's been waiting patiently, excited by the opportunity to work at Global Modern Services, she's then notified by email that there's a new task waiting for her in the We Recruit portal of Global Modern Services. She clicks and she sees the offer letter. She signs it. She sees already Stephanie Astor has signed the document as well. She reviews her offer letter really quick. She signs. And you can, have your signature and default, the default e-signature that they have for you. You can take an image, you can upload it, you can sign it with your fingers. So there's multiple ways to authenticate your dynamic signature. So we hit apply, and that's it. And like I said, I just talked about the steps that we had earlier, simplifying 14 plus steps in a typical sign send process to about 4 plus. So really good stuff here to apply for this sign in education for Workday as well. All right, back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Jenny. Hey, Jenny, before I move on, there's a question that's in the chat that asked from Gerlie, who pulls the document back to Workday, Adobe. Could you speak to that quickly? I just feel like that's relevant to the demos I wanted to cover before we moved into this portion of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, it's who sends or pulls the document back to Workday or Adobe?
Oh, that would be Workday, since it's built on the Workday platform.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Jenny, for the demo and all the overview. I hope that addressed a lot of the questions that everyone may have had. Just taking a quick look at this slide here, we're really working with a pretty extensive, diverse base of clients across a bunch of industries right now. And we obviously have hopes of continuing to build out the industries and especially push further into education with this integration, given the relevance that it definitely has. The payoff can be really significant. Our customers are indicate significant amounts of cost savings, and given education's often shortages in budget and resources, that's super important. It offers vast levels of simplification, and in general, it has a really positive impact on HR workflows. And where I'm going to go ahead and close out is just by noting that Workday itself is a Sign user. And I'm going to wrap up with a quote from their head of recruiting about the results of the integration. So Erica Sonos, the director of recruiting, after adopting Adobe Sign, documentation is now returned significantly faster from candidates. This creates more efficiency in our process, improves the candidate experience, which ultimately helps us move quickly in this highly competitive talent market. So really touching on some of the challenges that we set up front for what that can look like. All right. Before I move on and kind of get us to the final portion of the presentation, another quick poll. What benefits of working with Sign and Workday are you potentially most excited about? Drop in any answers you have. All right, well, this question is here, so feel free to drop in any answers you have as we go along. All right, now moving to wrap up. Yep. There we go, just getting the slide to populate itself. All right, so a few next steps. The first one is just a few resources that we can offer up if there's additional things that you would like to learn. So one is the Workday integration itself. Two, we have a lot of information on other Sign integrations that we offer. And if you just want to explore Sign itself and see how that works, we have an awesome .cloud for Education resource hub set up. Highly encourage everyone to join us for any additional sessions that we have. Again, on September 15th, we have the Microsoft integration session. October 6th, you'll hear from University of Portland, Portland State. And then October 20th, we have that getting started with Adobe Sign. And again, that's really about how you get Sign up and running at your school. So what the implementation process looks like. Feel free to send it to your colleagues and invite them to join as well. And then finally, if you want more information, if you want custom integration information, custom demos, any follow-ups that you had coming out of this session, we are happy to connect with you. So just contact your rep to get something set up, or feel free to drop your contact information into the chat pod, and we will be sure, of course, to follow up with you. All right. That is really it. So I'm going to move into Q&A. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mike, who's going to address any of the outstanding questions or just kind of queue up anything. So if you have any final questions you'd like to ask, please just pop those over into the chat pod and we'll address them.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So one question came in as far as kind of controlling the experience of the person signing the document when Workday is sending it out. So how can we, and I guess question for Jenny, how can we control where someone applies their signature when they receive like an offer letter that's sent out through Workday and Sign?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we get that pretty frequently. So in the Workday itself, the module and the business process framework, you can mark up your documents in advance with these text tags that I showed you earlier in the demo that kind of look like these parentheses. But basically in those dynamic form fields, you can populate, person's name, salary, company name, and where signatures or any type of form fields or fields that you want to populate, where they're located on the document. So text tags really control where those signatures can go on the document. So you can mark them up in advance, or ultimately you can use also PDF forms with the form fields defining where signatures are placed. Signatures are also assigned to recipients based on the order in which they're defined, like signer 1, signer 2. So you can do multiple things with these text tags on these fillable form documents.
Yeah, that's great. Another question came in. A participant said they have Acrobat, that they are aware that Acrobat has some e-signature capabilities. Why would they need specifically Adobe Sign in addition to what they have with Acrobat, and maybe in relation to Workday, if you can touch on that?
Yeah, so Acrobat, they offer an individual version of Sign, which provides, limited number of signature transactions up to 150 per license that work on an individual entitlement basis, but you can't really pool these transactions or add additional transactions. And the audit trail really belongs to the individual licensee. So if they should leave your institution, for example, you would not have access to their audit trail. So if it doesn't offer any organizational level administration, control, or workflow, automation benefits, things like that. We do have a page which we can pop in the link post this webinar for full comparison of these typical product capabilities.
Yeah, that's excellent. Another more technical question that I think we might want to get back directly to the participants offline just to kind of better understand, but maybe just more of a higher level question. If something gets interrupted in the process when you're configuring Workday to send a document out for signature and something goes wrong, do you need to start over completely in Workday, or can you just start where you were in the middle of?
That is more of a technical question. I'll have to get back to that person post webinar, but my inclination is that unfortunately, I think you'd have to start over. I think it just kind of makes the process more secure and better, for lack of better words. If you've made a mistake, just to kind of rehash it from the beginning. But yeah, let me touch base offline and get back to you on that question just to make sure, since it is a little bit more technical product question.
Yeah. Although maybe if the question meant like the person filling and signing the document, if they don't finish the process, I'm guessing that you don't have to resend the whole thing. They can obviously come back to it and start filling out and signing their, for example, offer letter at a different time. There's nothing else that needs to be done from the employer's behalf.
Right. Totally.
So it looks like we probably have time for one more question here. We have a couple more in the chat pod here. Let me just scan through these and see which one is going to be the best for everyone to hear. A question around what do recipients need to have in order to sign something with Adobe? Do they need to have an Adobe ID? Do they need to have an account? What needs to be created? If a education institution is using Workday and Sign to send it out, what does that recipient need to have to access and sign the document?
Yeah, so the answer is no. While the sender needs an assigned license to access, recipients simply just need a device and an internet to open, view, and sign. However, for more advanced use cases, there will be that additional authentication method that might be used, such as a password, or asking you to sign into your Adobe Sign for login, for instance, things like that.
Great. So that's all the time for Q&A we have today. Sarah, I'll hand it back to you to kind of close us out, and thank everybody for joining.
Great. And that's really all. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. It's great to have had you with us. Hopefully this was a helpful section. Michael Gurley, we will follow up with both of you about some of those questions that you had. Um, if there's other questions that anyone has that they want to drop in, feel free to provide your contact information. And again, we will be in touch. But otherwise, that is the end of this session. Again, as noted by Phil at the beginning, it will be available on demand. So thanks everyone for joining.